Hey, it's Mark Hicks, formerly known as Jack Hicks, my old radio name, which was given to me when I worked at a radio station where they already had a Mark working there, and we certainly didn't want to have two Marks on the same radio station. I guess it's sort of a misnomer, or a misnamer, if you will. Hey, I still got it. Okay, old school wisdom, bullies. This is going to go pretty quickly today because it's not really that complicated of a situation. I got a couple of stories that I can relate to you that'll help solve the problem pretty clearly, I think. So if you've got a son, a daughter, a grandson, a granddaughter, a friend, a nephew, a niece, anybody who's in trouble with bullies, getting bullied at school, before you yank them out of school and homeschool them, which some people do, and I kind of disagree with, because I think it's better to just solve the problem and for once and for all, because you could be setting somebody up for being bullied for life after you're gone. They could still be getting bullied. I'd say let's just solve the problem right from the start, shall we? Okay, here it is. First of all, a criminal study was done. Criminals prey on the easiest prey they can get. I mean, an old lady who's walking away from the cash machine with a wad of cash, they'll jump her in a second. A big muscle man with a karate insignia on the side of his arm and a look like that, walking away from a cash machine with a bundle of cash, probably not going to go after him. They go after the easiest targets they can get, which is sad, because if you're if you're vulnerable in any way, if you're a woman, if you're weak, I hate to say if you're a woman, because I know there's some very strong women out there, and I know some, but if you're vulnerable in any way like that, which I am, I'm a pretty healthy guy and I'm pretty big. I weigh 195 pounds and I'm 6 feet tall. And I walk away I'm 69 years old. If I walk away from a cash machine with a wad of cash, somebody out there can kick my ass and take that money away. And, I have to be aware. Awareness is the key on that. But anyway, what the lesson is from that is criminals will always go after the easiest target, the easiest house to break into. Houses with alarm systems on them, they're not going to go for. Probably not, because it's harder. It's easier to go for one that doesn't have an alarm system. The path of least resistance. So the same thing is true with bullies. They always go after the easiest target. So, for example, you never see a bully picking fights with the toughest kid in the school. You ever notice that? Think about that. The guys who are the bullies in school, are they bullying the toughest kid in the school? No. Why? Because it's a hard target. Matter of fact, they're probably not even bullying guys that are kind of tough, not necessarily even the toughest kid in the school. Guys that are just relatively not afraid of them. They're not going after those guys. They're going after the guys they know aren't even going to fight back. That's lesson number one. Keep that in mind. Same in bullying. So basically, what you have to do is reframe yourself as not. So currently, if you're being bullied, you're being seen as an easy target. You have to change that frame that you're living in and that they see you in. And we can do that. You can do that. It takes a little bit of work, takes a little bit of fortitude, but it's time to man up and do it, really. I mean, seriously. So here's a couple of cool stories that happened to me. The story of two Jims. Two guys named Jim that I knew. So this one, Jim number one, I was riding my bike along one day, probably in about 6th grade, maybe 5th grade, something like that. And this kid who was a year younger than me came up to me and, hey, starts pushing me around. Hey, buddy, think you're a tough guy, huh? Pushing me around and stuff. And I was scared to death. It's like I wasn't out of the blue. Here comes some guy pushing me around. Like, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going about my business. Oh, yeah, you're a tough guy, huh? Pushed me around a little bit, pushed me around. I ran into him again, Jim number one, and same thing, pushed me around a little bit. And it's like, oh, God, this guy scares me. So my neighbor, a year older than me, said, Hicks, you know what? It's time for you to stop getting pushed around by these guys. I'm going to give you fighting lessons. So, okay, the plan was he's going to give me fighting lessons. And I'm going to learn how to fight, and I'm going to beat up this bully. So he told the kid that was bullying me that, hey, you better watch it, we're giving Hicks fighting lessons. Well, I never got the fighting lessons at all. And the next time I saw the bully, I knew that he knew that he was told that I was getting fighting lessons. So the frame changed. So the next time I saw him, I basically grabbed him in a headlock, wrestled him to the ground, and just started pounding him exactly like, is it Ralphie? What's the kid in the Christmas Story, is it? No, I forgot the name of Ralphie, I believe, right? Isn't that the one? And Scott Farkas was the older kid. And when Ralphie let loose on him, he just started pounding him on the ground. Same thing that happened to me with him. Now I'm pounding him. I didn't beat him bloody like they did in the TV show, but I gave him a good pounding. And ever since then, once that happened, he never bothered me ever again. In fact, every time I saw him, he was polite to me. I think he even called me sir a couple times. Okay, that's Jim number one. That was a reframe. I was no tougher and he was no weaker than before that happened. But once that happened, that was the end of that. Okay, Jim number two was a guy who always wanted to fight me, and I was scared to death of him. He was bigger than me. He was probably twice my weight. I mean, he was an overweight guy, but he was a big guy, and he was pretty tough, and he hung around with a tough crowd of kids, and I was scared to death of him. But I would always, from a distance, like, hey, you better watch it, Jim. I might have to kick your ass. And in reality, I was scared to death. So one day, down at the local swimming hole in New Brighton, Long Lake, actually, I'm in there swimming, me and Haney and Yanni, my buddies, and we're swimming, having a great time. Beautiful summer day in Minnesota, packed beach, people swimming, packed. And I look up at the shore, and there's Jim, number two, with his gang of buddies. And I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not going to be able to get out of this one. By the way, Jim number one also had a gang of buddies behind him too, a couple of kids that were putting him up to it, which is also another common thing. I'll tell you one more quick story after this one too. So Jim number two. So I'm looking out at the on shore, and there they all are, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not going to get out of this one. And so sure enough, we get out of the water. They surround me. Now Haney and Yanni, my buddies, they got on their bikes and started riding away, and they stopped about 100 yards away and watched from afar. Not that I blame them or anything. And I actually confirmed this with Yanni recently. He goes, yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly how I remember it. So they surrounded me in a circle. Now I have to fight. And I just figured, I'm just going to have to fight back. I don't really have a choice in the matter. I was scared, but I just went for it. And I started punching Jim number two. Punching him in the face. And he was just covering up and stuff. He wasn't throwing any punches back. And after, 30 seconds of this, which seemed like about an hour, I realized, wow, I'm actually winning. I'm not just standing up for myself. I'm actually winning this fight. I was surprised. One of the guys in the gang said, hey, Jim, you better start kicking his ass, otherwise I'm going to have to step in there and do it for you. And it was at that point, as I'm still throwing punches, I realized, wow, I'm going to get beat up no matter what happens here. There's no way out of it for me. I'm going to get pounded. So as I'm punching, I look at the line, and I picked out the weakest kid in the line. Not the weakest, but the easiest target. And so my plan was, in a second here, I'm going to throw a few more punches, and I'm going to break out of the line, and I'm going to hop on my bike and drive away as fast as I can. And that's exactly what I did. A couple more punches thrown, hopped on my bike, rode away, caught up to Haney and Yanni, and away we went. And what happened with that was the end of the story. Jim number two never ever wanted to fight me ever again. And the bullies, the older guys still kind of did, but Jim number two never hassled me ever again. In fact, we became really good friends, and that was the end of the story. Really good friends. So again, I reframed myself just by fighting back. There was a crowd of people egging him on, just like there was with the first guy. Okay, here's one more quick little story that happened to me as well. I was at my locker in junior high, and this kid named Dave and another guy came up to me. I'm messing around. I got books in my hand and stuff. And this Dave guy was a tough guy. You know, he was known as being one of the toughest kids in the school. Not the toughest, but, you know, in the top 5 probably, maybe number 5, you know. But, you know, barely cracking the top 5, but a tough guy. And he was in my gym class, so I've seen him without his shirt on before. Ripped, no fat, solid muscle. You know, he could have pounded the daylights out of me. So he comes up to me with the other guy in tow, and almost I could hear the other guy egging him on. You know, that's the impression I got from him. And Dave comes up and pushes me and with my books, and nothing fell out or anything. And I with one hand on this books, I push him back. And he goes, "Anytime, Hicks," and walked away. And that was the last he ever hassled me. And the other guy laughed a little bit, but, you know, he never did anything to me because he was just one of those guys, you know, the Scott Farkas thing where he's got the little wimpy guy that's doing all the mouthing, and then the tough guy has to live up to the thing. So anyway, that happened. Same exact thing, really. There's a lot of things in common with all of them. 1, they're just intimidating you. 2, there's a crowd around them. 3, if you stand up to them with a stronger frame of yourself, they're going to back down. Now, for you, out there in the real world, if somebody does that to you, just standing your ground, you know, hey, you want to fight after school? Okay, where do you want to go? And so I took martial arts for a long time, which I highly recommend if you're in that situation. Take a couple of classes, get your white belt or something. You know, I mean, you don't have to be a black belt or a black sash or any of that stuff. Take some lessons. Or if you know a kid a couple years older than you that is a boxer maybe or something, ask him if he'll teach you, give you a few lessons, you know, a few pointers. Just tell him, hey, look, I'm getting pushed around at school a little bit. Would you mind showing me a few things? He'll do it. Why? Because first of all, you're recognizing his toughness, and guys like to help guys like you. I mean, seriously, you can get help like that. So I would say just learn a few basics about fighting. You don't even have to fight. I mean, unless somebody starts and they surround you like happened to me and you have to, then go for it and just start throwing punches until the guy, you know, eventually realizes that you're not going to back down and you're not an easy target. All you're really doing is reframing yourself from being an easy target, somebody that's going to back down and cower and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. Take that out of the equation. Now you're not going to cower. And the thing that I learned from my martial arts studies was that my theory now is I'm still not the toughest guy in the world. You know, it's a lot different than it used to be, that's for sure. But there's guys out there that can pound me into the ground, you know, with one hand tied behind their back, you know. But the way I look at it is this. Somebody can come after me and probably beat me up, but I know enough to do some damage to them that I'm going to make sure that they pay one way or another. They probably could win, you know. I mean, I might end up getting the daylights beat out of me, but I'm going to make sure that I send them on their way where they had to earn that. There's going to be something, there's going to be a joint that's hurting for the rest of their life. There's going to be a bruise that lasts a month. You know, I mean, there's going to be something, maybe even a permanent pain now for the rest of their life, and they'll never come back and ever hassle me again. That's my view on it. And if you can adopt that view as well, I think you're good to go. That's really all there is to it. I mean, it's to wrap it up, bullies always go for easy targets. If they perceive you as easy to push around, they're going to take you over a tougher kid who's not going to, all right, we'll go then. You know, I mean, you might beat me. See, if you have that attitude, you might beat me in a fight, but I'm going to make sure you pay. You know, if you have that mindset, that changes your frame right there. And once you have that mindset and you're not afraid to back down, that changes the whole frame and they're going to move on to an easier target, guaranteed. So they always have an audience. They always go for the easiest people. And if you change your frame, that's it. And take a few karate lessons or a few boxing lessons. You don't have to become a black belt or anything. Just enough so you know how to punch. Learn how to punch. That's one of the first things they teach you in martial arts. Once you got that down, the rest of it is it's all important and it's all good, but that's a big one. If you know how to hit clean and hard and you can sock somebody back, it's worth its weight in gold. And not only that, it's a life lesson for the rest of your life. If you don't do that, if your mom yanks you out of school and homeschools you, what's that teaching you about life? It's one of those life lessons that you gotta stand up and learn, I believe. I hope this helped. Share this with somebody that needs it, if you would. I'm not one of these guys, please share the video, hit the like button. I want to be liked. And if you could, make a comment or something. If you want to do any of that stuff, you're welcome to, but I'm not going to be begging for it. Have a great day. I'm Mark Hicks, formerly known as Jack Hicks. This is old school wisdom. Have a great day.